Hi, my name is Angie Wong, and I am president of Legacy PAC. We just came off a huge bus tour across the nation where we went and supported Republican candidates that were running in the midterm elections. We're going to do it again in Georgia for Herschel Walker during his runoff. And of course, we're mobilizing for the big presidential run in 2024. We would love your support and your donations to help us hold the line for the America First agenda and to support the next generation of conservative leaders. So please go to legacy-pac.org. That's legacy-pac.org. Thank you so much for your continued support.
Let's just start with this. If you have to go to 50 former agents and 5 former CIA agents to find out if your son's laptop is really your son's laptop, that's the problem to start, right? So then when I look at this from a totally different perspective, right? I don't see this as a win for Republicans that this is coming out. I don't see this as a win for us that we are now getting something. I see this as a loss for America. And those people that should be the most outraged are Democrats. The Democrats that went to the polls and voted for Biden and voted for him thinking that he was going to do something or that he was another option because they were so frustrated what was happening with President Trump. At the end of it all, I think we have to see this for what it is. This is an assault on this country. This cyber insurrection is what I'm calling it, is an assault on this country, and it's borderline treason if you think about what the executives did at Twitter. So when I fast forward to where we are right now and where we are when we look at where we could have been had we allowed everyone to get the proper information and make a decision for themselves, this is the Democratic Party saying that I'm smarter than you, I know better than you, and I'm going to make the decision for you. And that's a problem for me.
Hi, this is Stan Fitzgerald with Legacy PAC and Veterans for Trump on our Vet Voice channel. I'm here with my friend, JANELLE King, who is a Fox News contributor, Georgia gang panelist, and you started your own organization in Georgia as well. How are you today, JANELLE?
I'm great. I'm great. How are you?
Good, thank you. Why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about what you started in Georgia?
Yeah, so we did start Speak Georgia. I think that's the organization you're referring to.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
Okay. And that was a series of town halls that we did in order to make it interactive and allow people to interact with subject matter experts so they can get their full information. But we have since grown and we have moved on, and we're now focusing in on Let's Win for American Action, which is an organization that my husband started. And the campaign that he's really working is Kings for America. And it's something that's really for men only. But so Stan, you'll hear a lot about it. But the whole focus is to make sure that we are creating and empowering strong men so we can have strong families, strong communities, strong neighborhoods. And then we can make sure that people are engage. Kelvin wants to see more men engaged in the political process. I think it's a great initiative. So that's really what he's focusing in on. And I've really been putting a lot of my energy into my podcast, Let's Talk About It with JANELLE King. And that's been my baby, my labor of love that I'm really, really excited about.
Well, I would like to point out too for viewers, Kelvin King ran for Senate here in Georgia. He is a veteran and he was an excellent candidate. And I think JANELLE played a lot in having a wonderful marketing plan, and they actually went out into every county in Georgia and hit the communities, which is something that every campaign should do, and they just don't. JANELLE, you were on Fox News recently, and you said the Twitter files are a cyber insurrection. You know, the country went through 4 years of Russian collusion, and there was no collusion. Here, we have big tech collusion with our media companies, Twitter, Facebook, and all these people. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, the reason why I said that I felt like it was sort of a cyber insurrection, and even I've even said that I think that it was borderline treason because there was so much that was being put to the side. It wasn't just keeping information from people. It was also hampering and holding back conservatives so that their message doesn't get out. It was really trying to control messaging during an election season, and that's where I have a problem. People said that they talk about January 6th as that being an insurrection and people wanting to overturn the election. They were coming in to do things that was going to put or hamper the election process. But that's the exact same thing that happened in Twitter. We had a handful of people who felt like they knew better and that they can make the decision for you and that they will decide what information should come out and what shouldn't. That is a problem for me. I have faith in the American people. I have faith that we can make decisions for ourselves and that we can select the candidate and the individual that we feel would best represent us, since that is the goal and that is the purpose of the job. So that's why I called it that. The term actually came from Kelvin. We were talking and he said, "Oh my God, this is a cyber insurrection." And I was like, "It is." And so I told him I was going to take it, and I did. But we both agreed.
Oh yeah, I agree with you too. I mean, this is the government agencies, they're meddling in things that are prohibited for them to meddle in, and there's no accountability. And one of the organizations I work with is called the Center for Renewing America. And they had a plan to implement what's called a church committee, which would give Congress tools and more sort of law enforcement powers through the committee, not that they would as members of Congress, but it would get the paperwork faster, the documents, and they'd be able to investigate things like this. Because I also heard you say on another media hit that for Congress to have some accountability, they have to go through 50 agents, talking about the Hunter Biden laptop.
Yeah.
Now, if you had a committee that would just be able to walk in and take it, we would have answers right away. And which brings me to my next question. Kevin McCarthy pushed back on that. He's not going to do it. Do you have any thoughts along that line?
Yeah, I mean, so when I was referring to the 50 agents, I was really referring to the fact that President Biden, that's what we're going to call him, said that that he needed permission, or I would say he needed the proof from 50 agents and some CIA agents to know whether or not that laptop was his child's. And I thought that was just idiotic. And, if you're a parent, you can just call. If it was my son, I would just call him up and say, "Hey, is this your laptop? Give it to me." And then, and that would be it. But, so it was just that was a little confusing to me. I don't want the government to feel like they can just come in and take anything from anybody without going through the proper process. However, I do believe that if you have adequate information and you have adequate reasons to believe that this is a danger to our country, because here's the thing, if you have a child who is being paid these large sums of money to sit on these boards and to interact with people and foreign leaders on behalf of quote unquote himself, but really it's on behalf of the big guy, which is his dad, then I do think that is a threat to this country. So yeah, absolutely. The CIA should have enough information to be able to go in and take the laptop. And so that in that regard, absolutely, the laptop should be in custody right now.
And just to clarify, that is what I'm talking. I'm talking about government oversight. I'm not talking about power over citizens. Just accountability and oversight. Yeah. And you and Kelvin are from Georgia, and there's a reason why I pointed out that you went to every county and engaged with the people everywhere in the communities that a lot of candidates don't go to. My thoughts are clear. I posted them on social media. Herschel Walker, the entire country's talking about it. Everybody's pointing fingers. What's your take on our failure?
Yeah, you know what? I think there's a lot of different angles that you can go from, but there's one that really was glaring and stood out to me, and it's something that's really personal to me, and I've talked about it a few times, and I will continue to talk about it, is that I felt like there was a lack of cultural awareness when it came to selecting this candidate. It's nothing personal against him as an individual, so to speak, but when you're being put up to represent the people, then that's when there are certain things that come into play, and that does matter. And I mentioned this on the Georgia gang, but there was things that we noticed. Like for instance, Raphael Warnock was going into Republican counties, and he was swaying Black people and minorities in particular in these counties to his side. And this is unique because when we were traveling throughout the state and we did hit all 159 counties, we talked to people, and a lot of people that knew we were coming, there would be people who would show up who are not necessarily politically active, but they're just in the community. And so we talked to a lot of people in our community, in the Black community, who were okay with supporting a Republican. Matter of fact, they have done it over and over and over again because most of their local leadership was Republican. But the problem was that they didn't feel that Herschel Walker represented them in this community. They didn't feel like that some of the things that was coming out when it came to his past, his background, they felt like it was kind of setting us back. It was forcing us to have conversations we didn't want to have, conversations we had moved on from. As a Black man, the idea of being aggressive, of being the aggressor, the idea of not taking care of your children or having multiple baby mothers. I mean, all of that stuff are stereotypes that they are fighting to get over and move past and not be seen as that. So it was a little frustrating to them. A lot of people did not understand why he was the option. And we would explain that, well, we felt like it had to do with name recognition. A lot of people felt like his name recognition would be, a big deal. And we said during the primary that name recognition, when it comes to him, only mattered in the primary. In the general, you're dealing with a voting block of millennials, right? This is 25 to 40. And of that, I turned 38 yesterday. And
happy birthday, by the way.
I
hit you on Facebook, but happy birthday.
Thank you so much. And I was born in 1984. So that I have no recollection of Herschel Walker as a football player. And even if you graduate from UGA, it's totally different from being in the stands and watching him play and then seeing plaques on the wall. So there's not an emotional connection. So for Warnock, all he did was he focused in on the millennials, which he knew he had a good group of voters that he can grab from. And we saw an increase in the runoff. And then the minority community, the Black community. And I just think that was a ball that was dropped. I don't think people paid attention to how this would affect the races.
Well, it's definitely some valuable insight. And again, a better campaign team could have corrected that and made a difference. So those are my thoughts. But Janelle, my wife and I appreciate you and your husband, and we look forward to seeing you out at the state convention and some events before that. I want to thank you for your time. I put these links out and they get shadow bans. Shocking. Big. But when I put the video on the platform directly without a link, it gets very well hit, tens of thousands of views. So again, people think we're conspiracy theorists, but we are shadow banned.
Well, I think Elon showed us that we're not conspiracy theorists. We are most certainly being shadow banned, even to the point where they're tagging our personal profiles so that we would be halted. So I totally understand. And I thank you for having me. This was great.
Thanks, Janelle. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye now.
All right. Bye-bye.